o'clock on a Monday. You know what that means. It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live. There's my audience. This week, starring special guest star Mr. Sean Hurwitz. Yay! Everybody laughs at our theme song. Welcome.
It's impressive. Hey, how you doing?
So, Sean's like the best friend that I've never had. Our relationship exists on those. He's on the road a lot, and we met several months ago because only happens when I have guests. Anyway, hopefully that won't keep going on. Anyway, let me get the chat room open to say hello to you guys. There you are. So I go flying remote control airplanes and drones on the weekends, and Sean is friends with friends of mine, and we met there, and we had a bromance going on our phones. So he's home for a change.
For a moment.
Yes.
For a moment.
And as I told you in the email that went out, he is on the road a lot, currently touring with Enrique Iglesias, and has worked with Smash Mouth and Gin Blossoms and Anna Nalick and a host of others. And he's a gunslinger. That's what he is.
Thank you.
But we've never done a show like this, so I'm really excited to have you here. It's
thank you for having me.
we're always like doing film and TV stuff, and we've never done like the life of a guy on the road that you got a good business head, and I can see, just from our conversations online that he's playing the angles in a good way. So welcome to all of you guys. Hello, Mark and Kano, Mary Band, Danny Weber, Kenda Potter, Linda Cullum, Mojo, Dean Turner, all of you guys, welcome. So, what shall we do first? Oh yeah, I have questions. And
I'm prepared. I like it.
I did, yeah, look at that. Oh yes, it says, hold up signs. Remember, for those of you watching the archive, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like us. You know the drill. So you didn't grow up here in the United States entirely, right? Where did you?
Well, not at all, actually. So my parents. Should I look there? Or should I look there? Okay, gotcha.
You can look at them
So,
sometimes.
as some of you may or may not know, if you follow me at all, I'm from Israel, born and raised. My parents are from New York, though. They made Aliyah in '78.
For those of you who don't know what that means American Jews who went to Israel to live there and become citizens.
Well, it really just means any Jews that come from outside of Israel and move there.
Right.
Immigrate there.
And so you were born in what part of Israel?
I was born in Rehovot. You ever been there?
This is so weird. I've not had this happen in months. Hopefully you guys, my screen has gone black here a couple times, and you guys are used to it on your end, so hopefully. All right, I see some people saying you're getting some blackness on your end, but as always, I'm recording it, so if we get a lot of this weirdness today, you can watch it after the fact. Okay, so did you come from a musical family?
I did. Both parents played guitar. My mother is the biochemist, researcher, and my father was always more of the artsy, hippie kind of guy. And both played guitar, and that's it. He originally is the guy that taught me my first few chords.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they must be proud, because most parents don't want their kids to go in the music business.
I hope so. Not only did I go into the music business, they went to Israel to have a family, and I left.
How old were you when you left?
So I hope they're proud. I hope they're proud.
Sure
I left when I was 23.
Oh, okay. So that was like 2 years ago. Got
exactly.
it. So at what point did you know that music was going to be your life? And Was it as a child or?
I was probably 13 when I decided that music, some sort of form of music, was going to be my life. That didn't mean necessarily that I needed to play guitar on the biggest stages in the world. It just meant that I wanted to be surrounded by music. I knew that bar mitzvah time, when I was 13. Yeah.
Translation, right, when he was 13. So who were some of your favorite artists growing up?
Clapton.
Yeah.
We spoke about him before, Clapton. And
Okay.
I got that more from my father. He kind of introduced me to Clapton. And Bon Jovi, I was just listening to them today. So many Israeli artists, though, that no one would necessarily know, but I mean, growing up. But yeah, anyway, it's pointless to mention that. I don't think you have enough listeners in Israel just yet, but
we actually, believe it or not,
really?
we probably got 2 in 5 taxi members that are living in Israel at any moment in time. It's funny because my wife, for those of you who don't know, speaks fluent Hebrew. So at the road rally, my wife will hear somebody speaking Hebrew from like 300 feet away. Boom, she's right on it.
I'm that guy in the airports. I can tell who's Israeli and just go for it. Yeah. But yeah, so I grew up, I mean, Machina and Portrait and Noel Shulaim and man, so many different bands that I listened to. Kind of in the pop genre, but in pop and rock, but in Israel.
It's funny, Israel, for having as many great musical artists as I'm now aware of. I've got a daughter that lives there, and my wife lived there for half a dozen years, I think. So I'm brought into the fold on Israeli artists, and even though I don't understand a word they're saying, I can appreciate the music.
Yeah, no, they do some very, very creative things. One of my favorite bands, a band that I worked with as a backliner, which is what it's known in Israel, basically a stage tech. I worked with a band called Hadag Nachash. Do you know them?
No. If I did, I wouldn't. I can't pronounce the name, so I don't remember.
Anyway, Hadag Nachash is like one of the biggest hip-hop bands. I mean, they've been big for probably about 20 years now, 17 years or so, and I would say stage tech forever, and I love those guys, and they're all friends, and I still love that. They're so creative, so just a big bunch of creative people, all of them.
It's funny because so many people associate the Middle East in general and Israel specifically with Middle Eastern sounding music, which I don't think a lot of the world is aware that they have hip hop and they have rock and indie pop and stuff. It's all infused with the Middle East flavor, but it's not it's not the desert with a bunch of camels.
No. There are some camels. Just to be clear, there are some camels there, but they're not making any music. No.
That's true. So you came to the U.S. What was your mission? The day you decided to leave there and come here, did you have a specific mission and a goal in mind?
I'll answer that with a little story. My goal from probably when I was 15, 16, I kind of knew that I wanted to do the music thing, and I would probably end up leaving Israel, not because the musicians there are great, it's just this tiny. It's just such a small.
The whole country is the size of New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just so small. So opportunities are not all around, or they are all around, but the competition is just fierce because there's just so many people in such a small country. I, as a result of being born to American parents who then made sure that all the kids had American citizenships, have an American citizenship. So I've got both Israeli and American citizenship, and I always knew that I wanted to, I always knew, probably around 16, 17, I knew that I would, at a certain point, I would give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I would move to America. That's all I knew. And as I told you, so 16, 17, but I moved when I was 23, so the whole way, all those years, 7 years in between, I just didn't feel ready. I wasn't musically, mentally. I'm like going from Israel to America. I mean, America. Do you know how big America is?
You hadn't been here as a tourist with your parents?
I had been here as a tourist, and it was pretty. It's a big place, but I hadn't been to LA. I'd only been to New York and
Well, that's
places
pretty big.
around there. But it really was intimidating. I didn't see myself as ready. I'm not just there. I'm not there just yet. Maybe I just need to practice a little more. I'll be there, but I'm not there just yet. And then when I was 23, mid 2003, I believe, there was a we were in the middle of what was known back then as, or still known as, the Second Intifada, which is just basically clashes between, a lot of terrorist clashes between Palestinians and Israelis. That's, without getting into the politics of that, that's what it was. It was the second time that happened for a long, extended period of time. And I was driving down Jerusalem to meet some friends, and nothing happened in Jerusalem that night, but it was back then when buses were blowing up left and right. And it just so happened to be that as I was driving down to Jerusalem, a place called Mike's Place, a bar called Mike's Place in Tel Aviv, which a lot of friends played there, and I'd been there before, and anyway, a guy blew up there and killed a lot of people. He didn't actually make it in because of the
security at the door.
Yeah, the security at the door did their job, and unfortunately, I'm pretty sure the guy lost his life, but he did it. He saved a lot of people, because if you blow up anything in closed quarters, it's just so much more havoc. So if it was done outside, he saved a lot of lives. But I was listening to all this happen in real time, and I just thought to myself, I'm driving downtown to meet some friends, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, you got to get out of here. Like,
yeah,
you got to get out of here. At least give it a shot before some a week from now you're playing somewhere and your arm gets blown off, and then you'll never know. Could I have made it? Maybe I could have played with Enrique Iglesias around the world. I mean, who knows?
Or you could be a drummer.
Yeah, I could.
There is a market for one-arm drummers.
That's true. That's a very, very specific niche. But
that's right.
But the point is that I was like, dude, you know what? Ready or not, here I come. I have to give it a shot. I have to. And you know what? I have a great career going for me in Israel. I had studied 2 years of sound engineering, and I was working in live sound engineering. I was working in studio. I had a great career going on in Israel. And
just up and left.
Yeah. And I told all my friends, and I sold all my gear, and I told the bands that I was working with a bunch of bands back then, playing and working for. And I just said, listen, I gotta go give this a shot. And
oh man, you sold the gear. That's a pretty definitive move.
Well, I had to. I need the money.
And so, what did you do for a gig when you got here?
This is what I did. I'll tell you what I did. And anyone that talks to me and says, hey, I'm thinking about coming to LA, I tell them this is what you need to do. You can't be, to use a Jewish word here, futzing around, right? You can't just come in and be like, I'll go check things out. LA will eat you alive. It will eat you up alive if you don't come in and just go for it. So I landed at 11 o'clock, and I had known one family, some friends. I had dated their daughter in Israel. They were Israelis that happened to be on vacation with their American daughter. So they lived here in LA, but they're on vacation, and I met her there. And I kind of followed her. I said, hey, listen, I'm going to be coming to LA. Is there any chance I could crash with you for a few days? And that's it. But the day that I came, I got to their place, took a shower, ate something, and said, okay. Said to the mother, Leah, I said, where can I get some kind of paper where I can find a car, a place to live, and a job? That's what I'm looking for right now.
This is why you're on Taxi TV today, because it's this part of your personality that fascinates me. Because a lot of musicians are all about I've got to satisfy myself with art, which is fine. I encourage people they should feel like they're achieving their musical goals. But from the little I've known you in person, but from everything that I've learned about you on the phone, is you get the business side. So
yeah, you have to take it. That's the biggest thing that is lost on amazing artists and some crappy artists as well. But the entire every musician has to know that if you want to, or I'll say this to the camera, if you're a musician in any kind of way and you actually want to make a living from it, it needs to be your business. So you have to learn how to make it part. Some people succeed in doing it, but you can't just do one thing. Great at guitar, you can't just be great. If you want to really make it happen, for the most part, again, there are exceptions, but if you really want to make it happen, you need to know how to run it as a business.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all there is to it. I mean, we were just talking about it before this. And
this is why we do Taxi TV. It's not about high production values, as you can tell, but it is about getting content, really good content out there, and inspiring people and teaching them that there's this whole holistic thing that musicians need to do nowadays. Yes, especially nowadays, more so than in the past.
Yeah, it's very. There's a lot of competition out there.
So, do you remember you played like a real gig to more than a handful of people, and was that like a flashpoint for you?
Thinking on the name of the artist, but it was at Canyon Club. Here in LA.
It's like 2 minutes from our house.
Yeah, and we were opening for Dishwalla.
Okay.
And I don't remember her name, but I was a hired gun, which is my bread and butter. And I played with a guitarist called Ricky Z, which is actually quite big in LA. He's a session guy, and I remember him because I was like, wow, I'm on stage with Ricky Z. That's impressive. And yeah, that was the first one that I can remember that pops into my mind.
How many years ago was that, give or take?
I mean, that was, I've been here since 2003. That was probably 2004, mid-2004, or 2005. Yeah.
I could have been in the audience. Deb and I actually go to the Canyon Club.
Possibly.
That's funny. We literally live a mile and a half from there. Yeah,
it's a great place. I mean, I've seen other shows there.
Yeah, great sound, comfortable, good French fries. So was that like a moment where you had an epiphany and went, this feels good, this feels right, I need to do more of this and amp it up and do it on a bigger level? Or were you still interested in studio stuff?
No.
Writing?
When I came to America, the idea was this. I can always lean on the studio stuff. I know how to do that. I can no. The idea was that if I hadn't made it to become a full-time musician, by the time I was 30 or 33, I wanted to be in a great position in a job. I didn't want to be 33 or 30 and be like, well, that didn't work out. What do I do now? No. It's a business. I'm here to do business. So if that strategy didn't work, I had other contingencies.
So very businesslike.
Yeah, very, very.
Most musicians, I don't want to incriminate everybody, but I've been in the business for longer than you've been alive, sadly. It's serious. I've been in the industry for more than 40 years now. And so many people I know have broken my heart because basically they're hanging out waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
They don't grab it by the nape of the neck and go for it,
There are a lot of things that need to come together for success in the music industry, and that's a very broad term, but there are a lot of things that need to come together. Some of them you are waiting for the call.
Yeah.
But listen, there's a lot of things to do till you get that call. Well, a lot of things to do to make that call happen?
What are those things?
To keep it very short and sweet.
It's all right. We've got time.
Well, I've got a lot of stories.
That's what we're here for.
The answer is, and I mean this in the nicest way, not in an LA fake way, but networking. It really is about networking. And to take away from how cold that might sound, it's not necessarily, you don't necessarily network with people that you want them to do something for you. How about networking with people that you might be able to do something for them?
Right.
How's that as a concept?
Yeah.
But the point is networking, and it's very important. So when I came here, the idea was not necessarily in this order, but I needed a place to live, I needed a car. I was told LA was very big and I would need a car.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed a job. Once those three things happened, I think I got a rental car and I got a rental car, and the next day I got I bought a car within a week. I found a place to move into a week and a half later with an Israeli. I was reading some classifieds in an Israeli magazine, and I found an Israeli guy that was looking for a roommate. Moved in with him, and it took me a hard month. I was looking every day, but I got a job at Guitar Center in Sherman Oaks,
which is the flashpoint for many a career.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, who could have asked for more? I needed gear for cheap.
Yeah.
Cheaper. Everything's expensive in Israel. I couldn't believe how cheap gear is here, but I got it for cheaper than that. It's a place where I could learn about the American culture, which was super, super important to me. I needed that very much. Coming from an Israeli culture, I needed to learn how to talk to people, what to not say, what to say. That helped me out a lot, because I was on a sales floor I was in Guitar Center for 3.5 years, but I was on a sales floor for 8 months, during which I needed to sell a lot and talk a lot and connect with people,
mm-hmm.
and ask a lot of questions, part of sales. And I learned a lot from that, which is things that I'll have for the rest of my life. It was just really important to learn how the American culture works, how American, what's the word I'm looking for? Guitar Center is a corporation. How corporate America works. That was another very important thing that I needed to know. Yeah, and that's it. I don't remember.
Do you remember if a guy named Ray Scher was still the owner of Guitar Center?
Your daughter told me that you knew the owner back in the day.
He's actually a good friend of mine.
I don't know who was the owner back then.
He may have sold it already by then, but he would be very happy. The reason he just popped into my head is I met him 15 years ago or so, and hanging out at his house, and it's like Steve Vai came over, and we were hanging out, drinking brandy in a room filled with millions of dollars worth of guitar. And he said to me at the end of the night, he said that one of the things that he found most satisfying about being the owner of Guitar Center was watching musicians become business people. He said, I never want them to let go of of their musicianship, but watching them learn how to be responsible and accountable and communicate with other people and become salespeople. He said, that to me was exciting.
Well, it worked. It worked. Absolutely, 100%.
So I'll have to give him a link to this episode and let him see the product of his.
And I learned something. This was a Guitar Center value. It was one of the core values, but I learned it. I attributed to, or me learning it to, Jason Crane, which at the time was a manager. I always thought he was very. I really admired him for a lot of different reasons. He was really good at what he did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was just great at it. Some people really didn't like his style. Some people loved it. I was one of the guys that loved it. But one of the things that I learned from him was whatever it takes. And I don't know if your friend, the owner back then, came up with that was one of his core values, but that is to this day, even before. But then someone put words to it, whatever it takes. That's what I do. That's my, yes, it's business, and it's a lot of other things, and it's hopefully some talent, and but whatever it takes. That's what brought me to where I am today. And networking.
My whole career has been built on whatever it takes, because that's the way I got trained at Criteria Studios in 1974, was always do the right thing and do whatever it takes.
Yes, and to you and others, and that's, so again, you see, it became a long answer, but the answer to your question was networking.
Yeah.
And it's not just about what people can do for you and going after people so they can get your stuff placed and get you on a stage and give you money. It's absolutely, you should be asking what I can do for other people, but it really is everything that I have so far in my life. I can say that I got because I connected with some wonderful people. I can say them by name, and I'm sure I would forget other people, but I can say who got me the Smash Mouth gig, and I can say who got me the Enrique gig, or who put my name in there and got me that opportunity to shine. And
wow,
Yeah,
That's the kind of gig every musician who ever wanted to be on the stage dreams about, and you got it.
Yeah.
And you've had several of them. And just to let you guys know, going back to Israel for a minute, I've been there several times. So many of my American friends, even American Jewish friends, worry that, oh, I'm going to Israel. It's going to be very dangerous. I have always said it's riskier and feels more dangerous to me to be in the parking lot of the Staples Center going to a show than it is in like 98% of the places I've been in Israel.
Interesting. I haven't gone to too many shows in Staples. I went to one show.
You've always been on the inside.
Not only I went to one show there to see Bon Jovi, the first time I ever saw them, and then I performed there a month ago or so with Enrique.
Right.
Those only 2 times I've been to Staples.
Wow. Well, you didn't see the parking lot on the second show.
No, I did not.
I've always felt very safe there. It's not what people imagine it to be, and it's a wonderful country. Can't say enough good stuff about it. Seriously, I've never met anybody that went there and didn't love it and want to go back.
Well, especially your daughter.
Yeah. That's true. She definitely loves it. Quick funny story. Some of you know my daughter Hannah, who's a singer-songwriter. She's been on Taxi TV a couple times years ago. And she moved to Israel 3.5 years ago, I think, and served in the Israeli Defense Forces. And she's out now. Anyway, this summer, she wanted to do something fun. She's in college, and she wanted to do something fun. And so she's working at a summer camp, a sleepaway camp in the mountains of Pennsylvania somewhere. We barely got any contact with her because there's like no cell service. But she sent us a message last night on WhatsApp saying that a bunch of kids from Israel came to the camp. Oh. And they took them to Walmart, and she said they freaked out.
Oh, yeah, their eyes.
They've never seen anything like Walmart.
I remember the first time I walked into Fry's, the electronics store. What? You don't have more than 3 options for computers in Israel, or back then. Israel now is a high-tech mecca, but for me, as a guy that doesn't have a lot of money and I'm 16, 17, here you walk in 16, 17, you could have a few $100 and you only have 50 computers to choose from. It's insane.
Okay, so I talked about how. Let's see. How did you get that first gig?
What was the first gig?
What was the first gig? What was your first major touring, playing big stages gig?
I feel like my first artist that I played for, and it wasn't a big thing because it was actually a promo run.
Okay.
Was Ananelic.
Okay.
Randy Cook called me. Randy Cook is an amazing drummer and a dear friend. Amazing drummer, amazing successful drummer, I should say. He's done so many CDs and albums and tours the world as well. And actually, he was with Smash Mouth. Now he's back with Smash Mouth. But prior to Smash Mouth, one of the things that he did was he had I forget his name. Her Tim, I believe, reached out to Randy and said, "Hey, do you have any guitarists? I need to audition. We need to do this promo run for the second album." And he put my name in, and I went. I had 2 hours to learn a couple of songs, and I borrowed someone's guitar because I didn't have an acoustic where I was. And I went to the audition, and I got the gig. And that was my first. I think that was my first official. Wow, I've heard this artist on the radio a lot. I actually just did a cover of that song a month ago.
Now you're playing for real
with Ron Harris.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yeah, with a mutual friend of ours. And I was like, this is surreal. Anyway, yeah. So that was the first one.
Wow.
And it's same guy got me into Smash Mouth years later.
The audition process. I actually have notes. I'm on that page right now. So, okay. So, how much of it? No, backtracking. You get the call from a mutual friend, or we both know whose name escapes me right now, but the guy who used to work here doing A&R also books a lot of art or a lot of players for tours and stuff. Mm-hmm. You get that call. You show up for the audition. What is that like? You walk into a room, shake a hand, and then what?
Every audition is different.
Okay.
I'll try to keep it short. Ananelic was me walking into her MD's
Music director.
Music director, yes. Her MD's living room. And hi, Hannah, nice to meet you. Tim. Okay, here's what we're going to play. It's just very, very up close and person. You have what's known as cattle calls here in LA, where you just have hundreds of musicians audition for days on end, or maybe it's just an audition for a guitarist, and you walk in and there's 30 other guitarists there auditioning that day. It's just they bring in everyone. It's very impersonal. It's not personal at all. It's you feel like you just go in, do something. It's very hard to get a reading on how you did.
Interesting.
And you obviously have a lot of competition for whatever that's worth when you walk into those situations. Sometimes the artist is there, sometimes they're not. Maybe you get a callback and the artist is there for the second round of auditions.
I would think that would be the case more often than not. As I was writing my questions in prep for the show, I was thinking, got to be a callback situation most of the time. I can't see a major star like Enrique Iglesias hanging out in a room listening to 45 guitar players one day.
No, well, we didn't even get that far. So I mean, Enrique was a complete. I'll tell you about that in a second.
Right,
so the next one in line would be Smash Mouth, where I got the call like, hey, Greg Camp, the original guitarist, the guy that wrote all the songs, and really wonderful guy, great musician, who I've had the honor and pleasure of working with since. He left. There's been some of this, and we got to go to Iraq and Kuwait in about 6 days for a 2.5-week tour for the troops.
Wow.
Are you available? That was Randy, my buddy Randy Cook, calling me. He's like, hey, dude, are you available for these dates? I was like, yes, even though I wasn't available, but I was like, Randy calls, I'm available. So Randy, if you need me, I'm he said, yeah, management will contact you, and they hit me up and they said, can you do this? I said, yes, and that was it. There wasn't any audition.
Because he already knew your skill set.
He knew my skill set. He knew I could do it. And the fourth day, I got into a room with him over everything, just to make sure that I had all the ins and outs. The endings and beginnings is usually the things that.
That was my next question. Is you could know a song from the radio, but that's going to be different than the stage version in many cases.
I could tell you. I'll tell you about that. I'll get back to that in a second. But the point is, the fourth day. Remind me.
Okay.
How did it go with Smash Mouth? The fourth day, so 3 days, I spent about 22 hours a day. The fourth day, I ran a rehearsal with him. And before the rehearsal with him, I was at a place working on I had a camera up, I was recording myself performing everything, and then I went and rehearsed with him, and then went back to the rehearsal spot and worked on everything again. Fifth day, I was off to San Fran or San Jose, I don't remember which airport, to meet up with the guys, and in Kuwait for the troops. That was it. There was no audition. I'm sorry. The fifth day I went in, there were about 23 songs. I think we got through five of them. We went for a rehearsal with the band. I got through about 5 or 6 of them, and the bass player was like, "Dude, you're great. I love you." It's Paul. I love Paul. That guy is just an amazing guy, and he. Anyway,
I'm glad I got you watching for me.
So that's what happened with Smash Mouth, and I'll tell you exactly the business sense of where that comes into play with Smash Mouth.
Okay.
But just to stay on point, the process with Enrique was the gentleman that was there doing the job for 8 years prior to me was leaving, and I had reached out. Doesn't matter. Someone had put my name in as as a possibility for a guitarist. I think they were looking at 4 or 5 guys, and the musical director, the MD, hit me up and said, "Listen, I can see obviously you You can play. You look great on stage. All stuff that he saw, I'm sure, on my website and YouTube, which we can talk about as far as the business goes.
Right.
Everything was there for a reason. It wasn't there by mistake.
Right.
But he said, "Look, I know you can play electric. I know you can play acoustic. I see you look good on stage. I think you'd be a good fit. Can you play nylon string? Because you can play classical guitar, not classical style, but nylon string." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." Because again, it's Latin. It's not full-on flamenco. I'm not a flamenco player. I'm not a classical player.
But it sounds like it. It's
It's pop, and they use nylon strings sometimes. So classical guitars. So I said yes, absolutely. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna send you the song Bailamos. And do you know that song? Bailamos.
Apparently my wife does, because she was very excited.
Well, it was a big song. So they sent me Bailamos, and they sent me a live version of it, and recorded. They had the whole version without the guitars that I was supposed to play. They had only soloed the guitars that I was supposed to play. They had the full version with all the guitars.
So they really had it together.
Yeah. They had recordings. They still have recordings, and it was my job to just pick it up and learn all the parts and play it and recorded video, and that was my audition. So I didn't even play live like I am right now. I just recorded it to my laptop and sent them a video of me playing in my studio, just NS10s blasting Bailamos, and me playing.
And that got you the gig?
That and these good looks. No,
you know what? Let's talk about looks for a second, because that's on my list of questions. I would imagine that, let's face it, age and your attractiveness and your body type and that stuff, sadly, it's Hollywood. You know, it's like being an actor and you're being typecast. You've got to look like you match the other members of the band, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, if that's one of the bands, like, okay, we want every person to have a completely different sense of fashion and personality, and yeah, you definitely have to fit in.
I remember working with a famous female artist way back in the day, and she said, "You'll never see me on stage with a more attractive background singer."
Yeah, absolutely. There's something to it.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, Enrique, with all due respect to everyone on stage, dude's a good-looking guy. I mean, I don't know if he's a very, very good-looking guy. Yeah. So you can't. It's very hard to look better than him. He's great physique. The guy's just tall. I mean, he's a great performer. Runs around on stage, jumps into the crowd. I mean, he's a stage. I don't know if I know anyone that could take that away from him on his stage. He's got that on lock.
Have you ever seen Rick Springfield live?
I haven't. No.
If you ever get a chance, he makes Bruce Springsteen look like he's boring.
Wow.
I saw him at the Roxy one night, and I went with an industry. He climbed on top of the monitors and jumped like a superhero. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they get buffering issues all the time. So
on their end, sometimes, not just.
Anyway. But that's weird. I rarely get this. Anyway, let me know if it's problematic and I should restart. Anyway, he played a solo midair. Like the lead Jesse's Girl was happening as he was falling from the sky. It was really something to behold. Okay, let's see. So
you know what? Let me answer something you had asked.
The radio versus live thing, or no?
No, the yes, radio versus live. When you're playing the stuff with Smash Mouth, Randy gave me a bunch of. It was literally I was watching YouTube links. For 22 hours a day, what I did was this. I had the set list, 23 songs. I would go song 1, play the album. Okay, cool. Now, play the live version, which was literally some guy with a camera at one of the shows on YouTube. I downloaded everything. I had all the MP3s. I had all the things. And I was basically listening. Okay, well, they play this of half a step down. Very important.
Right.
As a musician, you don't want to go and be playing in the wrong key. So they're playing this half step down. And I can see, even though the stage is very far, I can see the guy is playing chords that are open. So the guitar is tuned half step down. So I know that some of the songs I did in standard tuning, some of the songs were half step, some of the songs were half step down. But the point is, I would familiarize myself with the song, and studio version, and then I would listen to it live and pick out all the parts that Greg was actually playing, because there's a lot of guitars on a song. You can't necessarily.
So you'll even go for like chord inversions and stuff like that. I mean, voicings that
everything that I can do. My goal with Smash Mouth, as with Enrique, as with the next gig and the one after that, and any gig, my goal when I get on stage as a businessman, as a professional musician, I'm not there to show my brand. I'm not there to show off Sean Hurwitz. What I'm there to do is a job. What I'm there to do is, in some cases, take what the producer was trying to do on the album and bring that to the stage, if that's what they're doing live. So I'm talking about how much delay is there? What level is the delay? How much feedback is it? Where's the cutoff point? How much verb, if there isn't? Is that a phaser or a chorus? No, I think it's a flanger, but really low mix, probably about 20% of the mix. All of that. So
they don't give you notes. You got to figure it out.
No, you got to figure that out.
And
you got to
create your own notes.
With Smash Mouth, there weren't any notes other than stuff that I had asked the drummer. But what is he going to necessarily know about that? He helped me with a lot with other stuff. With Enrique, I definitely had Carlos, the MD, and his producer for probably 15 years now. He's been with him for that long. He knows the whole show in and out, and Enrique is a dear friend to him. So, I mean, he kind of coached me. He gave me all this stuff, and then I would, I think this is one of the things that he liked. He actually told me later, one of the things that he liked was that he sent me all this material, and I said, okay, what I need to know here, what I need to know here, okay, great. I'd learn all of that, and then, so I knew all the parts, and then I come to him and I say, okay, I know all the parts, and I know what guitars I'm using, and I know what sound you're looking for, and all of that. Great. So now, what parts am I singing, right? There's a mic on stage.
Oh, yeah.
I've been watching live shows. There is a mic on stage, and dude is singing into it. Is it live, or is it
Memorex?
is the mic on, or is it just there for looks? No, the mic's on. Okay, great. What do I need to sing?
How did they know you could sing if that were,
They knew because I did with Smash Mouth as well, okay. I'm sure he saw me sing with Smash Mouth
before you ever got the call. Got it.
Yeah, and then once I was done singing, I had the music down, I had the vocals down, I knew what harmonies and where. Okay, now what's the choreography, or where do I need to be on stage? Like, are there specific songs where I need to be in a specific place? What he liked about that was the attention to details. And that's one of the things, the gentleman, Eddie Kaipo, the sound engineer that put my name in the hat for that gig. One of the things that met me with Smash Mouth, he was with Smash Mouth when I joined Smash Mouth. One of the things that Eddie likes about me is the attention to detail. Because again, so let's get back to it. I'm there to do a job. That's it. I'm not there to show Sean Hurwitz off. I have a website for that. I have this for that. But on stage, I'm there to play a part. Doesn't matter what I want to play. I need to play what needs to be played. So that's the thing with Smash Mouth. I went song by song and found out what needs to be played and practiced that. And then I went to the next one, what needs to be played, and practiced that.
How do you store all that stuff? Because you've got an album's worth of production,
honestly,
that you have to store in your brain.
That part, you know what? I'd say that is a skill that you learn with time.
And see, I thought the wristband was crib notes. I thought you pop that sucker open.
I do that sometimes if I have a quick acoustic set with someone, and I'm like, I'm not even gonna. The songs are so close to each other chord-wise. I'm not necessarily gonna I don't have enough time to learn for this gig. I will sometimes play the acoustic and have little cheat sheet right on the top. It has happened. But yeah, that learning the stuff. I remember when I was in Israel and I was working with a band. They were working in the. I was backlining for a band. They had a guest come up for this show, so they had a rehearsal. I was at the rehearsal, and I was like, how does he remember that? And I went, Talivni, the drummer, I said, dude, how do you remember that? And I don't remember what he said. He probably said something like, hey, just get used to it or whatever. And I know what he means now. You definitely find ways to remember. I'll think, oh, you know what, that song, okay, the hard part is not when you come into a song after it starts. The hard part is when you start a song.
Oh.
And you've never played it before. You've only practiced it in your room. You're in front of 20,000 people now.
No rehearsal with the band before you go out on the
Rehearsals
first
and
gig?
sound check, you just rehearse. There's no time. You just kind of rehearse the important things, and that's it.
Isn't that scary as hell?
It
An Enrique level artist or Smash Mouth. And I mean, that first sound check on your first gig, everybody's looking at you. Is the new kid going to
100%.
make it or not?
Not only are they looking at you, they're also like, what was wrong with the other guy? Why did this
Right.
guy, can't he just stay? We like him. What is this new guy? Where's he from? Israel? Okay, whatever. They're ready for me to fail.
Yeah.
Yes. With Enrique, I remember once I got the gig, one of the things that Carlos, the musical director, put together is he put a little rehearsal with me and Alex Feder, the other guitarist, and Joe Ayub, the bass player. We went to Joe's rehearsal spot and we ran the set. Once I was ready for it, we ran the set from beginning to end so they could point out little things that I may have missed with Carlos that we may not have spoken about. So, yes, I did have a rehearsal with them, but a full rehearsal, full band, ears, tracks, light, you don't really get that.
I remember you sent me a text, sent all of us on the WhatsApp group a text about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and that you were maybe in town but going to rehearsals with Enrique. And I said, why? You've done all these shows at this point, and I would imagine it's pretty much the same thing every night. And you said, no, they changed stuff.
Well, that was about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Right before we did the tour, we had a few days of rehearsals, and then there were many different reasons for that, technical as well as musical. They were putting together a new show. It's a new stage. It's new lighting. It's new pyro. It's new gear for the sound engineers. It's new gear for the stage techs and
so they even need to set up stuff like lighting cues in memory and audio cues and the console, all that stuff.
They went into a
So you've passed the acid test as far as your playing ability, and you're hitting your marks on the stage, and you're not showing up the artist, but you look cool going back to back with him, being a guitar guy,
doing my job.
All that stuff is right. What about how much does personality, as far as meshing with all the guys in the band? If you were, you don't even have to be a jerk, just somebody who doesn't mesh well with them. Could that end a gig?
Absolutely.
Even if you're doing everything great on stage,
absolutely,
but on the bus, on the plane, in the hotel room, breakfast in the morning, it's like they're not feeling it. It's like, bye-bye.
100%, yes.
Wow.
And that doesn't mean that you have to be someone else.
No, it means you got to be yourself.
I recommend you be yourself, and if you're right for that band, then that's going to happen. And if you're not right, that's not going to happen. There's a lot of gigs that I didn't get because I wasn't, even though if I could play the part, I wasn't the right fit. Maybe I didn't look it. Maybe I wasn't the right, probably 99% of the people watching this and that will watch it don't know this, but not to be straight edge, but I think that's what that's called these days. But I just never got into that stuff for different reasons. And what do we got?
They're asking, does he read music or play by ear?
Play by ear.
Okay.
I do read music, but that's not usually what I go for.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening on the video, and this it's the app on my end today, which is an extremely rare occurrence. It only happens when I have a guest here, oddly enough. Okay, so we got through all that stuff. Who makes the decision ultimately? Is it the artist? Is it the musical director? And the artist just implicitly trusts the MD so much that you show up?
It's different in every band. It's different in every band. Some artists like to be a part of it. Some artists don't. Some artists like to have the last word, and some people completely trust the MD, and that's it. So.
What we haven't done yet is play some of your music, and I want to do that. Like I mentioned in the email that went out to you guys, Sean, I knew this shortly after meeting him. I think I knew it within the first 10 minutes just being around you at the airfield that first time that I saw you there. And I heard you talking to our mutual friend Ron about business stuff. It's like, okay, he likes business stuff. I get that. So you're multifaceted, and you're building a table with multiple legs, and not just relying on this. And I'm guessing you realize you're not going to be doing this at 65 years old. I mean,
you never know. But,
right, you could be.
I'm not planning on it. But.
So he's had stuff in film and TV, and it's funny, we were talking before the show. He'd like to expand that part of his career.
Or get back to it. I did it a lot in the past. I just haven't. Enrique's been keeping me busy, and I'd like to get back to it. Yeah.
And my goal in life after the show is to teach him how to bring a one octave keyboard with you on the road and a Mac laptop, and just be making. You could be sitting in an airplane seat with headphones making tracks.
Which is our DJ. Fractal. That's what he does.
Okay.
I think he makes a lot of money from it.
So what do you want to play? You've got your site up, by the way, which is SeanHurwitz.com. You should go check out his stuff.
Or Sean H Music. You can do SeanHmusic.com, and you can find me on Instagram as Sean H Music, SEANH Music. On Twitter is Sean H Music, and and SeanHmusic.com or SeanHurwitz.com.
So
that's a good question. I don't know what
he's had stuff on. I mean, like major stuff, like American Pie. Which one of the?
It was the Book of Love. I've had with Kardashians. We were just talking about that the other day. We've had some
Dance Moms. Many of our members have stuff on Dance Moms. Degrassi, ton of stuff there. Ooh.
I didn't want to put too much on this page. I just wanted to put a few basic ones.
All right. Well, you can play that. You can play record stuff, whatever you want.
Let me see real quick. There's a beautiful. Let me see. Is that it? This is a song that we actually got placed. It did really well in Poland. It's funny.
It did really well in Poland.
A lot of fans from Poland, Enrique fans, actually follow me on Instagram, and I talk with them all the time, and we take pictures when they're at the shows and stuff. This was they probably don't know this, but if they're listening to this at some point, this is a song that was a big. It was the company Orange.
Yeah.
So it was a big. They're a cell company in Europe. A cell phone company or cell phone carrier, and this was their in their commercial, I think.
Okay. And what? Got it.
Once upon a time, every day your mind always felt the same. I go to work and I'd be in bed, nothing ever changed.
Great sound.
But when I first heard the sound, it turned everything around. It starts with the melody pouring down on me, shining through the glass. The colors golden dancing on my skin, lifts me up so fast. And it brought you to me. Oh yeah. Starts with the melody. I remember that day in December.
So that
Audience loved it. But this is a great example for you guys because we run listings all the time for ads where they're looking for emotionally upbeat, easy, makes you feel good, will resonate well in Middle America.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
Yep. That was, I mean, that worked well. But I also do things like
And resonated in
let me
Poland.
see. I think it did. This is a song I did with an Israeli guy, friend of mine, Daniel Brechel. Used to play for a band there called Hayehudim. But it's a very different style that was more for sports, I think. They would use stuff like this.
Who's singing?
Daniel Brechel. Wrote it with him and Greg Cash, Kevin Hudson. So yeah, just a variety of a bunch of different. By the way, just for the sake of saying it, the song before it starts with melody. Artist called Glenna Bree, who's still a friend of mine, wonderful singer, and wrote. I think she wrote it. Well, I know that it was me and Stefan Litrinek and Louis Yolin, and Glenna. I think she wrote that as well. She may have only sung that one, but I'm pretty sure she wrote it as well.
Is there a particular genre that you consider your home base, your favorite go-to genre for writing? Or?
I'm a rock guy.
Yeah.
I like it on stage, and I like it in the not hard rock necessarily, just a good, I guess, Bon Jovi style. Anything from there to the Foo Fighters, which is my I want to play with them so bad, but from there to the Foo Fighters is in anything in the middle. I'm not a hard rock guy, but
there's a guy who used to be one of our A&R people here, and I'm totally drawing a blank on his name. I can barely remember the names of my 4 daughters, but
I can look it up for you.
I can't even remember the band now, but it's a guy you should know. I'll think of it. His now wife, I believe, was my assistant for probably the first, I don't know, third of Taxi's existence.
Oh.
Anyway, he's in that kind of band, and he was a hired gun that ended up, and I'm drawing a total blank. I just saw their name in one of our listings. Anyway, that's what happens when you get old. Okay, strangest thing. So this is the lightning round stuff. True or false? Is auto-tune used as much as I think it is in live situations? For vocals?
Again, depends on the gig.
Yeah, of course.
It's very specific.
Okay, strangest thing ever thrown onto a stage while you're playing a gig?
Man, if anyone has ever heard of the Smash Mouth bread incident, and you can look it up on YouTube, unfortunately, that was the weirdest
Bread.
whole situation. It had nothing to do with the band. We went to a festival where they were doing it was wine and food, and there was a vendor there that was giving out free loaves of bread, and we only found out after the show because no one thought, hey, we might want to tell the band this, but they'd been doing that for the 2 days before. We were there for the third and last day, and for 2 days, people had just been throwing bread. It wasn't even on stage that was so weird. What was weird was watching it. At a certain point, there were thousands of balls of bread. They would just take them and wet them and make a ball. Thrown up in the air. It looked like upside, from our perspective, from the stage, it looked like upside down hail. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen from stage.
I bet other rodents in that area loved it. They must have been in heaven. It's like manna from heaven, bread balls falling from the sky just for us. Yep. Ever been shocked by a microphone or a guitar on stage?
Yes, of course. Not bad, but yes.
Scariest moment on stage?
I think scariest moment would have to be when you know I can't think of a specific one, but it's happened before a few times, where you know you're starting this song and you cannot for the life of you remember how it starts.
I would be that guy every show, every song.
You play, and sometimes, I mean, it's usually the first time you're playing with this artist and it's a brand new song to you, and you have to start it, and it's just like you're smiling, you're playing the part.
The other
like,
five guys are all looking at you
you're
like,
thinking
what
in front of 10,000 people, wait, how does this song go again? I've actually had to ask Jason Sutter. When I played with Smash Mouth, one of the drummers that played with Smash Mouth was Jason Sutter, and I remember one show I went to him and I was smiling, and I went, "How does this go?" And he reminded me the beat, and I was like, "Oh, right, okay, here we go." And you just keep smiling through it, but wow, that can be a very petrifying moment.
Speaking of petrifying moments in the context of live, I might have mentioned this last week, but the Eagles' recent performance in LA at Dodger Stadium, and then again in New York for the Classic East, Classic West tour. I'm a big Eagles fan.
Me too.
I was literally there in the building when they were recording the One of These Nights album, and so and got invited to the opening show at the Miami High Life Fronton, and occasionally got to go into a control room with their producer when he was mixing, and nobody else was allowed in there. He gave me a set of 4311s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, the point of this is being Glenn Fry's son, Deacon, who's now 24, 25, and getting the call, "Hey, Deacon, we're thinking about going out since your dad passed away like a year and a half ago, and we want you to be in the band." And immediately, Deacon's knees had to be shaking because Don Henley has a reputation of being a perfectionist, and there's no doubt that he deserves to be a perfectionist. And they added Vince Gill to the band. But can you imagine being 24, 25 years old, and your first gig is Dodger Stadium, and you're standing next to Don Henley playing stuff that your dad did, who's one of the greats of all time?
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. I can tell you that my friend Yariv told me back in the day. He said, I think it was him. You know how they say, what is it? What's the saying that it's luck and being prepared, and
it's
success, or whatever it is.
Being in the right place, right time, or perspiration, inspiration.
But when you get the call, you can do all the prep work. You can make the networking. You can get the gear. You can practice. You can do all the work. To get ready for the call. When the call comes, you have to be ready. When you get the call to go to Iraq and play with Smash Mouth, you when you get the call, you have to be ready in any business, because the chances that you get that call again, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes you get that one call. It's just a stroke of luck. You knew the right person met you the night before.
Do people ever get bounced from a tour just because somebody, not you in particular, somebody passes the audition, everything works, and they go out and they do a show or two and the chemistry's not there, and on show number 3 a week later they get the call, "I don't really need you on this one"?
Yeah, there is a lot of there's so many things that go into play with getting the gig, keeping the gig, and getting laid off the gig or losing the gig. There's just so many things. Personalities, playing, performance. You could play great and have a great personality, but you know what? You just don't look right on stage.
Right.
There's so many, and again, every band and every artist is completely different in what they want, what they're looking for.
And the tour bus, the smelling of flatulence and guys' socks on the bus. I mean, it's one thing if you're going to a gig and you get a first
Tour buses, for the most part, are very cold, and therefore, and they're very well ventilated and very cold. And I mean, everyone tries to stay on their best as far as.
It's not a dorm room.
Yes, yes. You have to take it. You have to take into account that you are on. You're home for the next month and a half, 6 months, whatever, is with a bunch of other people, whether it be 3 people, whether it be 11 people. Full bus is 12 usually, so you have to take all that into account. But no, neither of those things are ever a problem on a tour bus.
I hear about it all the time in the context of smaller bands.
Oh, and a van, completely different story.
It's like,
van is a completely different story. Tour bus is very big. If you want to have your flatulence, you can do that elsewhere. You don't have to sit right next to me and do it. And it is very well ventilated, and air circulation is pretty good on buses.
I just watched something on the Travel Channel a couple of weekends ago. I got sucked into hours of reruns of a show where they go out buying RVs. I so badly want to buy one of these like 40-foot luxury RVs now in the worst possible way. My wife's like, really? You, me, the kids in an RV?
That's
not so
not
much.
work.
We
still in a lightning round?
I can scariest travel experience. Maybe you didn't have one. I don't know.
I haven't had one yet. I could imagine things could happen on a plane that could be scary. I haven't had that, and yeah, can't say I've had one yet.
I had the right engine on a 737 go out one night.
Wow.
Everybody in the plane all went, it turned to the right. Everybody in unison, 158 people. I went, and the pilot came on very calmly and said this plane was designed to fly on one engine, not a problem. And he put it down in Houston. It was all good.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Pilot. Best single performance for you personally, like you walked off the stage and said that was the highlight of my playing or something, whatever you said to yourself.
I'll let you know when that happens.
Okay. Largest crowd you've ever played in front of?
We did, I think it was 70,000 people.
Wow.
Believe it or not, that wasn't an Enrique show. It was for the first show of an Under the Sun tour. It was us and Smash Mouth, Sugar Ray, Gin Blossoms. I forget who we shared the tour. There were another tour, 2 bands. I think it was Fastball and might have been Vertical Horizon. But it was a 90s thing, and it was like, I think it was a holiday weekend, and we were starting the tour, and
outdoors?
It was just outdoors. Depends on how much light you have in your face, but yeah, absolutely.
The question, just in case you got, I don't know if it's blanking out for just us or if it's you guys as well, but the question I asked Sean is, does he see much past the first few rows?
The answer is absolutely. Just a matter of how much light you have in your face.
Okay, and now the timeline. Wow, I've got a lot of questions, and I want to open it up to these guys.
Yes.
Almost like Michael is his therapist.
You know what though? I haven't seen anything regarding your question about if it happens on their end as well. So maybe it's just on your screen.
I hope so.
It blanks out on. Anyway,
somebody says he looks very sad. I don't know if they're talking about you or me. Probably me, because I get very frustrated. This kind of technical stuff really happens when I have guests on the show. I once had a guy drive an hour and a half to be here, and we had to restart the show like 6 times. It was just heartbreaking.
It happens.
Yeah.
When's the deadline on the circus music?
Oh, that's a taxi listing.
Okay,
they talk about stuff other than the show.
Okay.
Okay, so, all right, describe a typical gig from the moment you walk out the door, kiss your wife goodbye, until you walk back in the door. What's the progression of things that happens?
I'll take a one-off instead of a tour.
Yeah.
A one-off, for those of you who might not know, is when you're just going to do a show. It might be down the street in Orange County, or it might be in Romania or in Australia. But the point is, I get up in the morning. My wife, whenever the flight is, I fly. Let's take Europe, for example. I fly to Europe. We will usually fly in the day before the show, so if there are any issues, we're not missing the show.
Smart,
Yes,
professional.
good. That's it, because things happen. Um, I'll usually be the day before the show, usually afternoon, evening. Uh, get some food with the guys, some of the guys, and then try and get some rest. Try to get myself in a certain not jet lag if I can. And next day, that day we'll have a day sheet for next day. Tell us and the rest of the crew and everyone what's going on. I'll look at when I need to be. So basically, the crew need to be there earlier. They do an amazing job. They work their asses off and they get everything ready for us. Like I said, work their asses off. It's sometimes amazing how much they do in such little time. But I'll wake up, go grab some food with some friends. We'll have a lobby call, usually. We'll have a runner that picks us up, someone in a van usually that production sends to come pick us up from the hotel. We go, we sound check. Usually in the Enrique Iglesias gig, everything is the guys are all ready, like everything is
Well-oiled.
ready to go. They don't even need us there, so sound check is usually about 5 minutes.
Wow.
If there's catering up, we'll go get catering while we're there, maybe after, maybe before. Go back to the hotel, get ready for the show, come back about an hour and a half before the show, do the show, and then either hang there or go back to the hotel, and then leave usually very early the next day.
So when you go do the sound check, does the artist show up? And I know it's got to be different from tour to tour.
It's different from tour to tour, from show to show, and from band to band. If we're doing something we haven't done in a while, chances are the artist will show up, even if they sometimes don't.
I had something about catastrophic events. And I'm not being facetious in asking this. I'm just absolutely curious about it. If somebody were to have a really bad gastrointestinal issue.
Has happened, not to me, but I've heard the stories from my guys in the band.
Well, what do? You can't stay on stage during the middle of that, right?
You do and you don't. Everyone's professional, and you just handle the situation as it needs to be handled.
Have there been situations where somebody's absolutely had to walk off the stage in the middle of a song? I guess they would wait till try to do their best to hold on until after.
I haven't experienced that. The closest thing that I could say that we had was we were in Australia, and with Smash Mouth, and the bass player got food poisoning. And they had a very, very big trash can on stage, all marked off on the side, just in case he needed to use it mid-show. And he had to deal with some stuff before we got on stage and a minute after we got off stage. But during the show, it was fine.
Wow, the show must go on.
Yeah, something about the adrenaline, I guess.
Yeah, I have a studio story, but I won't say it in public. Is there a difference in audiences around the world culturally? Like some places, like Great Britain, this clapping, and other places.
I will mention places just because sometimes fans get insulted. Oh, you think that we're all like that? No, it's not that. I'm just saying that's what we experienced there at that show. So I won't mention places, but I've had shows for sure that it's a crowd where you finish the song and they sit there and they just go after every song, and the exact opposite where fans go crazy and just can't stop jumping on stage, whether it's wanted or not.
Okay. Let's see. How many trucks are there? That was one of my questions. I should have asked a question or two ago. When you're doing you're out with somebody that's Enrique size, and you're doing inside the U.S. and you're on the road versus in the air. How many trucks does it take to move a production that big?
I'll tell you the numbers that I know from the gig that we just did. The tour that we just did was Enrique Iglesias and Pitbull, and we had, if I'm not mistaken, it was 15 trailers. Wow. We carried everything. So, everything was there. You just come into a blank canvas, put everything up. And it was, if I'm not mistaken, 10 buses. There were roughly 102, I think it was 102 people on the road.
Wow.
For the whole time. And then everywhere we went, production had brought in 60 to 100 extra stagehands
Just muscle.
everywhere, just muscle, because someone's take it, put all this stuff up, put it up and take it down. And
don't they worry about like microphones getting jacked and stuff like that when they're bringing in people who aren't with the company on a regular
it's
basis?
a good question. I don't know.
They must have an extra stash.
There's so many. Oh, well, there's extra everything. That's live for you. Even when I was in Israel, you have everything. Everything. You always have everything backed up.
Bill Cosby once asked me, I showed up to record a voiceover for a Jell-O commercial with him while he was doing a photo shoot, and I brought 2 Nakamichi cassette decks and like an 87 to plug into each one of them. He said, why do you have 2? And I said, redundancy.
Yeah.
I'm a professional. He said, if you were a professional, you wouldn't need to. And I just went like, Bill, get over yourself, dude.
No. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I thought that was...
This is tech. Things happen.
Right, exactly.
I have spare guitars for each one of the guitars that I have on the road, and we're always ready just in case I break a string or something happens. And the professional is ready for that to happen.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Okay, so what happens if somebody, God forbid, in the band has an appendicitis or some sort of, really severe physical something that goes on, and they can't make the gig? Do you guys have like a multi-instrumentalist?
How long do they know before the show? If there's enough time, someone will come in and sub for them.
That's got to be scary. Hey, what are you doing tonight?
Yeah, more or less. Or I mean, that's basically been my only experience. I'm assuming. I mean, the show always must go on.
Yeah, just from a financial perspective, not to mention letting down the fans and stuff, but what happens if like, the drummer,
They would fly in a drummer.
What if they don't have time? What if it happens an hour and 25 minutes before
Hasn't
the show?
happened yet.
Okay, well, I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Most embarrassing moment on stage? I probably should have prepped you for that.
No, I don't know if there is one that I can really single out as most embarrassing. Can't.
When you're getting near the end of a set, do you have a sense of pending disappointment because it's over and you're going home, or is it excitement like, well, we made it successfully through another show? What's the emotional vibe?
A certain amount of relief, like we went on there, we did, we came for a reason, there was a goal, and we are 2 songs before that goal. It has been done well. The crowd looks like they had a great time, and great. Everyone's doing great, and actually the last few songs of the set are usually the most fun. We run around on stage a lot, and so it's a matter of relief also mentally, and knowing that, okay, it's past us, we did great, and then physically you're no longer like, okay, I just have to stand here because the light is going to be here, and it's a specific cue, like that's what's supposed to happen. The last few songs we're just running around and just doing our thing, so it's physically also very liberating.
That's got to be fun. I like that word, liberating. It's good for it. I'm going to open it up to questions from you guys because we've got like 10 more minutes to go.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take one more off my list, which is very extensive. How do you get over the jet lag and get yourself back in the headspace of doing whatever businessy stuff or musical stuff in the studio? You might get a call to work on an album. How do you else with veg? How do you not veg?
But I'm sorry, where?
When you get back from you fly to Iraq, you do the gig, you get home, you're wiped. Anybody who goes on a vacation knows that transcontinental jet lag is a killer. But you may have a situation where you've got to be on it the next morning.
Yeah, which is usually the situation. There is no time.
And with no coffee.
Yeah, right. As an entrepreneur, as a businessman, I don't have time for that. If I did my job correctly, I don't have time to rest. I was recording in my studio I'm producing an EP for an artist from Texas, and I was recording till the minute from 7 o'clock in the morning today till the minute I left to come here.
Wow.
And that's what I'm going to be doing later as well. My wife gets first dibs, though. If my wife wants to spend the evening together, she will get first dibs.
And so she should. Question from Ken DePotter. Lightning round question. Have you ever crowd surfed?
No, I haven't.
Do you wear a robe? I don't know if that question was for you.
Well, I do at home. Yeah.
I don't have I'm surprised they didn't ask about boxers or briefs. I don't have a spare classical.
How much does a person of your caliber get paid to do shows, tours, etc.? Do you negotiate your fee, or do you have a manager? I personally don't have a manager. I negotiate my fee, and every gig is different, and I don't feel comfortable answering that question in this form. But catch me one-on-one, maybe we can have that conversation.
In a general sense, not about you necessarily or specifically, is it safe to say that somebody is playing with major talent, doing big gigs and touring a lot, it's a real income?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, interesting to know. So you need to have more legs on the
Absolutely.
table. Okay.
I'll always, even when I'm earning, not to give away what I'm not making, but when I'm earning $10,000, I'm still going to be looking to have multiple things go on. I'm not, it's never enough.
That's you, I can tell.
Well, it's not just the business part. It's the point is that great. So I have a gig. Maybe I'm getting. I mean, I'm not getting 10,000. Let's say that was the number that I'm shooting for, and I negotiated and I get it. I could lose the gig a week from then. I can't. You always have to be hustling as a musician, as a businessman. You always have to have contingency plans, and you can't be counting on one income especially as a musician. What else we got?
People complaining about the buffering, which it's just been horrible this week. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm sorry to Sean as well. Let's see, I've still got a page.
Can't imagine flying with my guitars. Not as scary as you think. That's what insurance is for. Industry standard. There is no industry standard. There really isn't.
And as your own manager negotiating the deals, it's not like they just say, this is how much we're paying, and it's take it, leave it.
I mean, look, that's a negotiating tactic. If someone wants to come to me and say that, they can, and I will take it or leave it.
Wow. Are you a member of the AF of M?
I used to be. I am no longer, but I still deal with them on different occasions.
Okay, let's see. How do you stay current various genres? Because you've got to be multi-genre. You could get a call to do a one-off show to fill in for somebody next week, and if it's in a genre that you don't normally do, can you tackle that genre because you're a pro and just say, no problem, I'll just learn the song?
Listen, I'm a pro in my genres. If someone hit me up and told me they need me for a jazz gig, it's happened. I say, you know what, that's just not my strong suit. Here's the name of a guy that I think would do great for you. And if he's not available, give me a call. I'll get you someone else.
And that would probably come back to you in the same form reciprocally down
absolutely.
the road.
I mean,
not that you're doing it for that, but
no, people hooked me up. I hook people up. That's the way it is. But the more important thing is, if I can't do a good job, I'm not going to do it.
Right. That'll come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't feel good about it. Any other questions?
Well, there's what kind of guitar do you play? The answer to that, I get that a lot, and it's whatever the gig needs. So if I need to be playing Les Paul, I'm going to be playing Les Paul, specifically with Enrique. With Smash Mouth, I played a lot of Tellys. With Enrique, I play mainly a Strat style, but the company that I use is called Shabbat Guitars, Shabbat, and just check them out, shabbatguitars.com. It's a luthier here in LA that does incredible work, just amazing work. I mean, I've had guitars of his that have disappeared. Smash Mouth, we're on tour. Without details, they were on a plane. We went to France. We came back. My guitars were gone for 3 weeks. That's a story in itself.
Wow.
When I got them back, they were still tuned. Amazing. Like, the guitars are just impeccable.
Tuned at the factory and stay that way for life.
Just like, they're just, one thing you have to have as a guitarist is you have to have, well, not as a guitarist, as a professional, you have to have dependable gear. And that is why I use Shabbat guitars and Maton guitars for acoustics, and Merida guitars for for nylon. You can find all that stuff on my website. But basically, I use stuff because it's good and because it's dependable. And as a professional, I need to get on stage and I need to be able to do my job. And if my gear is not letting me do that, then it's out.
And do you bring a backup guitar for every circumstance?
They bring backups for me.
Oh, okay.
Yes. When I say they, the production hires, they rent local guitars as backups for us.
So it's really like, it's funny. It's like a road company of a Broadway play, except that they go somewhere and set up for a week or for a month. You guys are setting up for a day.
Yeah. And again, it's not our our job is not hard. The crew and the production. Yeah. Listen, I used to be a sound engineer. I used to be a stage tech. I loved that job, loved it, and I know how hard it is. And I appreciate everyone that does it for us. Everyone, video, pyro, audio, lighting, everything.
That's got to make the guys appreciate you, knowing that you did that gig.
Some of them know it, some of them don't. I hope they know that, and I hope they know I appreciate it.
Do they supply instruments for us to use at the open mics at the Road Rally? Yes, we have at least a guitar and a keyboard on every stage. And last year we had 3 open mic stages. This year I believe we're going to have 2 open mic stages.
What else we got? I'm not sure if we missed a few.
I feel bad for the guys on YouTube. Seeing these faces come in to read this stuff. Let's see. Any more questions before we wrap this up? Because we're approaching the 5:30. Will Sean be at the Road Rally?
That's a good question.
I asked you. It's November 2nd through the 5th, and yes, I would love to have you be there. I did ask you the other night in a text. And
I would love to be there. I do believe that I will be just at the end of a tour and possibly going. I don't want to say in advance where we might be going because that sometimes is a problem. So we might be. I might be on the road.
All right, but if he's not, he will be there. Assuming that he's not home for like 2 days. He's got to spend some time with his wife.
Yes.
But if you can come, I think people would love to have you there because we do. It's a big deal event. It's between 2,000 and 2,500 people. Mm-hmm. It's 3.5 days. And you would be great for one-on-ones where you sit down, somebody that wants to meet you when they grow up, and they sit down and go, how'd you do it? Here's
the record. You can also just hit me up. Just get on my website, SeanHurwitz.com or SeanHmusic.com. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter, on all the social medias. On my website, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my website right now. There are logos on the top, and one of them is an envelope. You can email me with questions if you want regarding gear, regarding business, regarding anything. I'm happy.
About the fish, it's a cagadol.
No,
we are not. Yes, it is. That's an inside,
whole different thing.
Inside joke.
Where's your next tour and with whom? My next, I have one-offs going on, but the next tour is with Enrique Iglesias and Pitbull, America and Canada. All the dates are on my website. You just go up, and you can find it. But yeah, it's in the fall.
Would you do me a favor? Thank Pitbull for me for doing the Taxi song because that actually got us a lot of hits on our website the day after he played it.
In what gig? Who asked that?
Ship 10, do you pick your amps or do they tell you what to use? I would imagine like on a...
With Enrique, we don't use amps, so easy question. We use AX8 by Fractal.
Which is a...
it's just a pedal board.
Wow.
A very, very expensive and good pedal board.
So that's interesting. No amps. Never crossed my mind.
All our guitars go through there. So, I mean, the nylon string, the steel string, and the electrics.
And it sounds great. They wouldn't be using
We work very hard in getting them to sound great, yeah. I mean, we tweak them, make sure that they sound perfect. Is that a question?
So
We're,
you were
we're
like
reading these things.
this one. So
Yeah.
you're like a 2 Feet from Stardom instrumentalist.
I'm not sure what that means.
There's a thing about the ladies who sang background for many big acts.
Oh, yeah. Which one of them is Judith Hill, I think, which I
I
played
haven't
with.
seen it. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
All right.
Yes.
Well,
Axe Effects, yes, correct. Not Fractal. You're right. So someone mentioned that. I mentioned that I use an AX8 by Fractal. They go by Axe Effects, is what they're called.
This is what I love about our audience. They know so much. Okay, with that, let's wrap it up because we're now a minute over, and I like to be kind of professional about that. Thank you so much for doing this, Sean.
Thank you for having me.
Oh man,
Thank you for
my
having me.
pleasure. I'm so sorry about all the blackout stuff today.
Happens.
It's rare that it happens on this end, and frankly, the only way to get rid of it probably would be restarting the computer and the whole show. So, with that, I will see you guys next week. Next week is Richard Dance. Don't forget the Road Rally, November 2nd through the 5th here in Los Angeles. And that's it. Hopefully we'll see Sean at the Road Rally.
See you later, guys.
Bye, you guys.